All right, well, I'm out in my main house now. I already moved some gravel. The area under my solar panels that I've been working in the last couple of days is very uneven sloped ground, very treacherous. I'm slipping, I'm falling. I needed to level that out. So I had to do some blocking to prevent, where there's holes where gravel could, disappear through the hole in gravity. I had to kind of block that up, shore that up, bring in some gravel, 2 gorilla carts full. That's a good way to start the day, warming up with shovel, and that's hard work. Took a few minutes break, and now I'm out in the main house. I got 2 sheets of this T111 siding set up. I'm about to paint it yellow. And then when that's drying, I'm going to go outside and do some framing, because as I think I mentioned in the earlier video, I'm at a stage now where I've really got to think about final framing. I guess you'd call it finished carpentry, putting up the siding, because if I put the next row of solar panels up, I'm essentially losing access or losing easy access to the area underneath. So everything that I've got to finalize underneath the solar panels needs to be finalized now before I go any further. So that's taken me a good full day, maybe a solid weekend, 2 days to deal with all that. So that's the type of stuff. I'll take you outside in a minute and show you that. All right, kids, I just painted 2 pieces of siding. Those things are thirsty. They drink up about 1/4 gallon of paint each. I've gone through a gallon doing 4. That's how I came up with my math. All right, I'm coming out here to my solar array, and I'll show you the gravel work that I did earlier. So basically, I filled all this in, if you can see, I don't know if you can, with gravel. I put metal up here. I think I showed you that already, as skirting. I've got to bring paneling down between these 2, and there's going to be paneling and insulation on that wall. I think I've got to put a board across here so I can backfill this with even more gravel right in here. Otherwise it'll just run downhill and go under there. I've got an orange line painted on the ground. Again, don't know if it'll last, but this is going to be my trench line right here that runs across and over here to this wall of my main house right there. So that's got to be trenched. I'm not going to tackle that today, but it's coming up super soon. And in addition, that trench, which is going to bring my electrical line to the main house, has to come into this space underneath here and sort of tie into that wall. So on the opposite side of that wall, that's where an electrical panel is going to be, or at least a junction box. Sorry about wind noise. And so I've got to figure that out. And then I've got to frame this right here and put a surface right here along the back side of this and down below, because a removable panel, this will be like an access panel. So I'll have siding on this, and of course siding all the way down this side over here, right? So I have to think about the framing. So I have those pieces cut, the backing boards, and painted. I did that yesterday. So now my next task is to sort of do some basic carpentry work on this. And then I might turn to doing the insulation against this wall, because soon enough, paneling will be coming for this side of it. Okay, that's a status update. All right, guys, welcome back to Solo Homesteader. This is my solar closet, what will be a solar closet. Before I can go too much further outside, I had to do some blocking on the inside up in those corners. I know I didn't show you that very well, but I just cut some 4x4 blocks and jammed them into the corners of this building. Whoa, that's bright. Because on this east-facing wall, I've started putting in insulation. I got a couple more bays to do here, and then I can start paneling up this side to make it look more like a building. And then on the opposite side here, same thing. I've got 3 rows with insulation. I don't know if you can see the gray back in there. Got three more bays to do, and then I can panel in that side. And then theoretically, I can panel in up this whole wall. It's going to be like an inside wall facing an exterior wall. And when that's done, it's already cut, but I can drop my next 2x10 in there that will support the next row of solar panels. And once I drop in those solar panels, I have to put in a trim piece of siding to take up the gap. There's going to be about a 6-inch strip on the far left. Oops, sorry about the light dark thing. But there's going to be about a 6-inch strip on the west edge of that where it butts up into that building, that container. But that's just a trim piece really that'll kind of screw down right on top to just help keep water and wind out. So I am making progress, even though this has been 5 solid weekends, sometimes 3-day weekends of digging holes and painting, carpentry, etc. But I am making progress, so that is overall a good thing. I'm not going to film too much today. I'm in my workshop now. You can see I've got my insulation sheet here in a circ saw, which is how I cut that. Cuts through it like butter. And have to make some cuts and trims, but I can also throw it on my sliding miter saw, which, you know, as long as we're talking 12, 15-inch strips, wide strips of the insulation, you know, I can cut most of the way through that, flip it over, cut, you know, the other way through. Because that structure has a sloped roof, right? So the ends of the insulation, I'm also putting that same 25-degree slope on it, and I'm either using this, sometimes I do it by hand, but oftentimes now I'm using that. And that insulation is both, you know, foam and paper. So I'm getting like paper dust everywhere, all over the floor. But I got a blower, I got a compressor, I got brooms. I'll deal with that later. Anyway, I'm going to keep going and I'll catch up with you in a bit. All right, guys, I got the insulation done on both sides of this thing. So that's cool. So now I'm going to warm up my one last can of foam to fill in some gaps and cracks. And I have hearing protection in, so if I'm yelling, I apologize. But I'm going to do foam around on this and foam on this side. And I'm gonna go grab my first panel, which is actually tan in color, and see how well it fits up in there. Okay, I'm out here at the solar array. The main thing that I got done last weekend was putting paneling on this side of the outside of the solar closet, putting paneling with a bevel here so the water will run off with caulking and paint and everything on this wall. And I put in like a board here with some metal over it so I could backfill all of this with gravel so it's level for the most part and I can stand on it. And that's really about it. The paneling you can see comes out down here. There's some gaps there. I'll have to maybe put paneling on 2 sides, right? Add some more gravel so wind can't get under there. But by and large, all of this, what I'll call interior work, is done. So now I can just put another 2x10 in there, which is what some of this lumber here is for. It's not the actual 2x10, but some of the supporting lumber. And then I can drop in a whole another row of solar panels. And then in the very last few inches along that wall, I'll have a gap to put in with some trim in there to take up the gap. But that's about it. So even though I'm not super motivated to work hard, I do want to see this done. So I'm going to dive into it and just keep going. Finish this damn rack. All right, guys, I got earplugs in and it's windy. So you can see though, I got one solar panel up in there. I got the rails on. I'm about to do a cross support. But there's the basic start of the second row of solar panels. Starter bit. Dead battery. No. No, not dead battery. Interesting. Boom. Now I'll do the same thing from the other side.
Here's Johnny.
Let there be light. And there was light. Anybody home? Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Howdy, let's talk some more. This video segment's probably going on my second YouTube channel called You Sure Talk a Lot, so welcome back to my 14 subscribers. I just like to share updates, things that are not like build related to what's going on here with my solo homesteading channel or AllMine Ranch property. This channel is more about just anything that's on my mind, and on my mind this week is